India's Hindu nationalist leader, Prime Minister Narendra Modi, unilaterally stripped Kashmir of its semi-autonomous status earlier this month. On August 5th, he did this, and he also placed its part of the region on a 2-week lockdown. Now, he has decided to ease that lockdown, but he is arguing that this territory should be part of India and that it should not be semi-autonomous. Kashmir is a mountainous valley that borders Pakistan and India, has been a center of conflict between the two nuclear-armed countries since the 1947 partition of British India. Now, the New York Times did a pretty good report on this, and it kind of shows you how much it's affected the people of Kashmir. Let's take a look.
India has sent in thousands of security forces to confine and silence all opposition. In Srinagar, Kashmir's largest city, they have eyes on each block. Checkpoints are everywhere.
They have betrayed us. It was a backstabbing to us as Kashmiris. They have made a prison. The whole Kashmir is now a prison.
And people have almost no way of communicating with the outside world. Indian authorities have cut off the internet, cell phones, and even landlines. So, to place a call, some try to come here. It's a government building with a few phones that may or may not work.
So it's a devastating story, and if the conflict continues to increase, because remember, India and Pakistan are constantly in conflict, and especially in conflict when it comes to this territory. And so you have two nuclear powers who are constantly feuding, and now the tensions are rising over this territory. I have more details, but Jake, I want you to jump in.
Yeah, so there's a little bit of a role reversal here. India used to be the moderate country until Modi took over, and he's a nationalist. When he was a regional leader, he looked the other way as there was vigilante violence against minority Muslims in his region of India, and he didn't go to prosecute. And so he's a Hindu extremist, and so. Whereas Pakistan used to be Muslim fundamentalists, and I thought was one of the biggest problem spots in the world. I would often say on the show the two biggest problem countries, unfortunately, are Saudi Arabia and Pakistan. But now their Prime Minister Imran Khan, although he's a populist, he's far more moderate and has tried to seek out peace before he was Prime Minister, and he was elected because of his stance on peace. And now he's saying, perhaps I was too naive and they mistook my attempts in treaties for peace as weakness. And so he's saying, now I'm going to go in the opposite direction. These are two nuclear armed countries. This is a potential disaster, worldwide disaster in the making. I hope that tensions cool. Now, some people in India's government are saying, well, we had a no first use policy, that we would never use our nuclear weapons first, which is a great policy. All countries should have that. And that's because India was a moderate country led by moderates. Now they're saying we might withdraw that, and it depends on the circumstances.
Right.
And so it's disastrous. And wouldn't it be amazing if there were moderates on both sides? But unfortunately, now we got a flip-flop, and there's fundamentalists in charge in India.
So I want to talk a little bit more about that role reversal that you mentioned with Pakistan and India, because look, it's never just one country against the other. There are other countries who get involved, and one of the reasons why Pakistan has been one of the more questionable countries when it came to maintaining world peace is because it's funded by bad actors like Saudi Arabia. And so it's just fascinating to see how Trump is handling all of this, because Trump is very friendly with Modi. But at the same time, Saudi Arabia, which Trump is incredibly friendly with, is funding Pakistan. And so the Kashmiris have been, waiting to see how America would react to this. And so Trump has been called on to mitigate the situation.
Oh, good luck to you guys.
Which is, I mean, I don't know what he's actually done. But again, he's very friendly with Modi. So if anyone in Kashmir is thinking that Trump is going to alleviate the pain that they're feeling, that's not going to happen. And even though Modi has eased some of the restrictions under this lockdown, he's still doing away with what's referred to as Article 370, which provided this part of Kashmir their semi-autonomous status.
Yeah, and look, these issues are never black and white, and I understand the Indian perspective. Pakistan, especially in the past, has funded so much terrorism, including horrible strikes inside of India. And recently there was a strike that killed dozens of Indians. And so there's great frustration and anger on the Indian side. But when you have a more moderate leader who's willing to work with you, that is your time to reach an agreement where you could actually strike at the terrorists together instead of making the situation worse. So how do I know who's right and wrong here? I think these situations are very difficult. I'm always puzzled that anyone claims that they know exactly what's happening in Syria on any of those sides. In this case, the United Nations and human rights groups who aren't on either side say, no, what India is doing in Kashmir is clearly wrong. There's human rights abuses. Arresting the political leaders and detaining them is outrageous. All the things you saw in that video are outrageous. And basically they've turned it into an open air prison. So it looks like, I would love for India to be right, but in this case, it looks like they're headed in a very wrong and dangerous direction.
And one final thing that's important to know, Kashmir is majority Muslim. India is majority Hindu, and Narendra Modi is a Hindu nationalist, right? And he has a history of being particularly vicious to Muslims, which is one of the reasons why the Kashmiris are concerned about not only losing their semi-autonomous status, but the way that they're going to be treated under Modi.
Yeah, and look, you can tell also in the verbiage that they use who are the good guys and bad guys in this particular circumstance. So the Indian government says, we had to take preemptive action in Kashmir to protect our interests. So we had to circle the largely Muslim population and basically put them in an open air prison because look, anytime anybody's telling you about preemptive action, whether it was the Germans in the 30s, we had to protect the homeland by going into Czech territory and Austria, etc. Or when our government, George W. Bush, said, I had to take preemptive action and fight them over there before they come over here, watch out. That means they're about to start a disastrous war. And so, unfortunately, most of the evidence here points to India being the aggressors. And look, last thing, Imran Khan, the prime minister of Pakistan, says, now they put all the soldiers there, telling us that they had to preemptively to protect their interests. Now, if they start killing the Muslim population in Kashmir, it's gonna force my hand, and then we both got troops there. And those are two, if you don't know, India and Pakistan are gigantic countries and weaponized to the hilt, to the maximum degree, including nukes. I don't think we are getting how dangerous the situation is and how the whole world needs to put pressure on both sides. But unfortunately, particularly on India at this point, including economic pressure to do the right thing. We cannot look the other way if they start to provoke a war with the other side, because that war will end in a disaster, not just for them, but for all of us. Thanks for watching this free clip of the Young Turks. Don't forget to become a TYT member today. For more exclusive content, join now at tyt.com/join.